But yeah, Cyberpunk, they're saying there's going to be no load times in Cyberpunk, and I think that's just going to make that game that much more uh, immersive, and that makes me super,
Yeah,
super happy. On top of all the other complicated, over the top technical shit that they're doing in this game to begin with, and it surprises me again that they're getting that level of fidelity without a solid state drive as standard, like it will
right.
be in next gen. I think we're going to see that all the time, I believe, in next gen games, because right now it's very hard. So we'll
Now,
see.
you mentioned a good point. They can do this by, at least with current gen stuff, because they don't have the super fast hard drives right now.
Mhm.
Releasing on current gen is that they're going to have to hide the loading. How would you imagine they hide the loading to make it so it's like a you don't experience that loading when it's an open world kind of thing?
There are a lot of ways you can do it. It kind of turns out this streaming technology has sort of always been a thing. Like even when I was watching the showcase of uh glitches in Ocarina of Time, there's so much stuff because it is hot loading, even though it doesn't feel like you're streaming in the environments. They even do that with these smaller chunks of environments. So
Hmm.
it's definitely always, especially with open world games, streaming has always been a thing to a certain amount, but there is this certain amount that they had to break it down traditionally to keep things manageable. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's not manageable, and that's why people don't necessarily do it more. I really don't have enough experience with it, but yeah, there are a lot of tricks, hallways you see with God of War.
Yep.
Going through tight corridors or something like that. They slow it down, they load it. Um, I was looking into it a little more. Batman Arkham Asylum, I guess you have a radio conversation, you'd slow down to a walk.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure.
So there are lots of tricks. There was definitely a Harry Potter game I think we've talked about where they slow you down from a run to a walk.
For no
Until
reason.
right. Or you think like Metroid, right? They got those doorways that take a second to open. So
True.
games have been doing this for years, but it's been hard to really have things be more open and really work kind of to the standard. So I think it'll be interesting seeing something this ambitious really pull that off. It's going to be really impressive, in my opinion.
You know what? That sounds awesome. One part that scares me about that idea with them is that the driving. That's where it like makes it harder for them to hide stuff. Is the fact that you can potentially drive anywhere, whatever speeds. That's where I just have fears with them becoming too ambitious. Unless they make the driving to where not all roads are on the surface, it forces you underground, stuff like that. But that's where I feel like. But I would trust their, their brains to handle that problem. But it's like that's where I fear that.
Well, you look at Grand Theft Auto as a game that basically does it. Like
It's
that,
true.
especially the newest one. I really don't remember any load times aside from dying or entering a specific mission. There are some buildings where, yeah, you load when you go in, but for the most part, there's no load. So I think if they can do it, these guys can do it. But
It's just so much detail. That's where I'm like, man, it's so beautiful, so much going on, so many NPCs, and then you add driving to the, at 60 miles an hour. It's like, fuck, man, it's something's gonna give. But I would trust that they know what they're doing.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting too when you take it to the extent that they have certain degree of destructible environments. Not everything's going to be destructible, but they have a little bit of that. Oh, that's another thing I'd love to bring up. Speaking of destructible, that chaos engine for Unreal,
Oh
um,
right.
it's just baked into that. So I was watching a little bit of it, and it sort of seems like it's not super dynamic in gameplay, right? You're not hitting something and it breaks apart super dynamically. They bake in the breakable bits, and it was interesting seeing how it does it. There are bigger bits on top and then smaller ones on bottom, and the way stuff can sort of more dynamically destroy, and they show off like blowing up buildings and stuff. So it'll be really curious to see with next gen consoles how that's all going to look.
Yeah.
uh it's pretty neat. So like you think about when we were playing through what was it called, Stranglehold.
Right. On
Yeah,
PS3.
Stranglehold had yeah, all that crazy destructibility, and that was such hard work, whereas now you can just pop in and you press a button, and now that whole thing's destructible and you're good to go.
Yep.
So all that hard work is just, yeah, button press now, which is crazy. That's the way things really need to be in this industry when we're making all these tools where something just becomes a button, or any
Right.
old idiot can do it. That's so important because a lot of your designers are any old idiot. So if they can do more work and leave your coders to do other stuff, you're just going to be making these amazing games. And that's even something I was really proud of with the team making Halo, is they were talking about their tools to make tools. Any old idiot can make these tools now to make tools to make the game better. So um, it's really awesome what these people are doing. But yeah, chaos physics, I think that's super neat. We're gonna see what happens. I don't know how much it's going to affect Fortnite. Apparently, it's in there, but nothing's
Interesting.
really changed. People say the ripples on like your parachutes or whatever are a little bit better, but that's
Okay.
really all people have noticed.